first one, obviously, Sam Trickett winning for the London Royals, 7 points for them, and Anatoly Filatov for the Moscow Wolverines taking 7 points for them, elevating them way up the standings into first place. I believe my correspondent, Mr. Eric Danny, is on the line. Are you there, Eric? Unfortunately, we don't have any sound for Mr. Danny. I'm not sure what's going on there. We're going to try and get the sound fixed for you so we can be able to hear him. Are you there now? Can we hear you, Mr. Danny? I'm missing that lovely voice.
Yes, Laura, and I think that's why I muted myself so that people didn't have to hear the voice. We were talking earlier today, Laura, about total points efficiency. I think we're going to rename the statistical category to the Anatoly Filatov show. He's just proving this stat, right. But let's take a look in the Americas Conference, how those players stack up with total points efficiency. It's pretty impressive to see who's at the top of that list. It is not Olivier Bousquet, who has the most points in the season, but it is a tie between Tyler Kenny of the New York Rounders and Felipe Ramos of the Sao Paulo Metropolitans, both hovering around the 79% mark, which is incredible. That means it's 79% of the points. They picked up 79% of the points that have been available to them. So just a great stat for both players. Third, we finally see Bousquet in there for the LA Sunset. 6 matches played, 66% efficiency, which is sort of bizarre because he's won all of his heads-up matches 2-1. So it would make sense to win 66% of your matches. However, he's also won a 6-max as well. So just a great start of the year for Bousquet. Rounding out the list, Anthony Zeno, the only player on this list, either in Europe or in Eurasia or in Americas, that has yet to win a match. So good on him being there. And then it's a pair of San Francisco Rush players, Kitty Kuo and Anton Wig, both winning matches, both showing up at 52 and 51%, respectively, which is sort of curious as a San Fran Rush just can't seem to get things going. But if you look at this next stat, the fact that they are tied with 5 wins, at the top of the Americas Conference with the LA Sunset, with the New York Rounders, with the Montreal Nationals, it's just almost inexplicable how this team isn't, one of the top 2 or 3 teams. However, delving into those stats, this team has been shut out 4 times already, and that's just, wrong. That should not be happening. Even more critical is that Phil Galfond once, and who am I missing? I am missing Anthony Gregg twice. So it's just incredible that those 2 accomplished players have been shut out, and thus it explains why this team has just been unable to really, be at the top with the Sunset, with the Nationals, and with the New York Rounders. So it's something to look at in the next few weeks. I really think this is the team that's going to skyrocket up the standings. You just can't. There's no way Anthony Gregg finishes 6th at every event. There's no way that Phil Galfond does the same. So I would look for the Rush with those 2 players that are in high in efficiency. I would look for that team really to move up in the standings as we head to Las Vegas in just a few weeks. Quickly we can talk about, as you mentioned, Fedor Holz, one of the players that will be in the lineup tonight. Talk about players that have been not so efficient. A 28% efficiency rate for him this year. He said that he's been very happy with the way he's played, but the bottom line is the LA Sunset need those points, and it's just not happened. He has a third place, 4th place, 5th place finish so far this year. Started with a 5th, then a 4th, following that a 3rd. So it does look like a 2nd and 1st place finish will be, will be coming to Mr. Holtz tonight. We'll have to see and find out. But it's just something to look at. He's also at the bottom when it comes to top scorers, which is just something we should not be expecting from a 1st-round pick and someone with the talent of Fedor Holtz. So that's it for me, Laura, and we can ship it out to you or someone at the desk. Happy to be with you guys this week.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eric Danny. Wow, he's just full of important stats. Interesting to see Fedor Holz there. 5th, 4th, then 3rd. Does that possibly mean he might get 2nd in this next Americas Conference match? I'm putting my money on it, I think. I'll see what the boys have to say. I'm going to throw to them now, to our commentary team of Sam Grafton and Griffin Benja.
Thanks, Laura. Griffin, Sam. So lonely she seems like in the lounge. Like there's no one there to talk to her. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Look at this you got going on, by the way. Fantastic.
Had to.
Oh, Did we come?
We got to keep the remaining. There's only 11 or 12 viewers stuck with us through the lag. I thought offering them a little bit.
Right, but no, it's important. It's important to note. A big announcement tomorrow. Roland Boothby of GPL fame will be joining her in the lounge, so she's not alone. It's fantastic.
Roland,
Roland not in the Boothby, but in the lounge.
Top analyst,
top
Roland
bloke.
Boothby with us tomorrow.
Yes,
so let's talk about this exciting lineup we've got
for
the fans today. Really, really packed lineup for the Six Max.
Scott Ball being replaced here by Jonathan Duhamel. He was originally scheduled to play the first match, but it looks like it's all Johnny today. We got Jason Mercier. Jonathan Jaffe, last-minute replacement, not a last-minute graphics replacement, apparently. Tony Gregg will be coming in.
Hashtag NBoss.
Hashtag NBoss. Hashtag Gustavo Fring of the GPL. He's coming in for Jaffe, but a really stacked lineup. Fedor Holz.
Absolutely incredible lineup. Jason, Martin Jacobson, and Fedor, three of the top performers over the last couple of years.
This is Mercier right here. What a beauty.
Last time we saw him was in heads-up action against Phil Galfond. Swept the board, 9 points against the legend Phil Galfond. Jason Mercier, very laxed demeanor on the webcam, super chilled out. He's got sports bets on. He's playing some cards. He loves the game.
Yeah, number one best GPI rank, over 16 million in earnings, an incredible near 10% win rate, which we like to talk about a lot here on the GPL.
3 bracelets.
Yeah,
competes in the super high rollers. Plays all the games as well.
74 scoop bracelets.
This is 82 W Cube titles. 8 billion in cash game earnings.
Oh my God! I thought they were in 10 billion.
Went number 1 to the New York Rounders, an absolute class act over a decade now.
And such a teddy bear. Just a penguin. There's
Is that
Jason.
representing Jason?
Yeah, that's Jason Mercier right
so
there.
Our 11,
ready to go.
Just so our 11 remaining viewers are aware of who.
No, I think we hit.
Represent.
1 sec. Did we hit a dozen? Yes, we did hit a dozen viewers actually. Lucky 13. Wow. Absolutely, yes. That's fantastic news. Who's next? Oh, Fedor Holz. Bloody adorable. The cutest little guy. And he's so unassuming, this little kid, but he is just dangerous. Fedor Holz.
Yeah, one of the sharpest minds in poker right now. An absolute crusher. Posted a big win over the weekend. Saw him bragging on Twitter about winning the 215 KO on PokerStars for over 30K. I mean, this guy posts results. Of course, obviously, a Sunday doesn't go by if Crown Up guy plays. He's going to post some results. Yeah, really one of the men, the man of the moment at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Man of the moment at the moment. Wow, fantastic. Yeah, Fedor Holz, he's the ripe age of 12 and a half. Don't call him 12. He will correct you. Very, very young. One of the young stars
He
of the
looks
game.
sort of Bieberish.
A little bit. Yeah. Nice reference. I like that.
22 years old, Fedor Holz.
And
absolute
you know
class.
what?
And the LA Sunset, they've got Busquet. If they can get Fedor Holz registering big points, the LA Sunset are going to be a factor in the American Conference.
He's really he's a little smiling dragon. Look at there. That's Fedor. He is just vicious, and he'll tear you up, but he'll do it with a big smile on his face.
And let's talk now about your boy from Canada, Jonathan Duhamel.
Jonathan Duhamel hasn't won anything in a while. Oh, wait, he won the one drop for like 4.8 million. This guy is one of the Canadian end bosses. I don't like to throw around the word end boss. I usually leave it for Darren Elias and Tony Gregg.
I thought they trademarked it.
$17.6 million in earnings. Most of that, of course, coming in his big World Series of Poker main event win. But, that's only half of, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone with $8 million in earnings.
In the post-Moneymaker era, to post 3 WSOP bracelets in big field events. Admittedly, 2, were high rollers, but
nice to see these main event champs sticking together, by the way.
Yeah, such strong results.
Yeah.
And Las Vegas Moneymakers have been struggling. One off the bottom of the conference. Coming in for Scott Ball today, and that's going to be good news for Moneymakers fan.
For sure.
This couldn't be a tougher lineup, and I'm going to be interested to see how John can perform against these great players.
Yeah, he's a great talent. We've seen him play a little bit here. Does some sort of things that are like un-GTO, which obviously Sam un-GTO, non-GTO, which Sam has always had a cute little comment about. But, he really goes with the game flow for the Las Vegas Live Pros, and it's just nice to see him in action again here today.
He's going to be there live proing around.
Yeah, for sure.
And now let's talk about Martin Jacobson.
Oh, Martin Jacobson. This guy, absolute stud. You know, best GPR rank of 8, over 15 million in earnings, most of which coming $10 million win just 2 years ago at the World Series main event. Yeah. Great little documentary about it. 10 for 10, what's it called?
EPT final tables. Yeah. Finished top 4 in all of those. Chopped Villamora heads up with Toby Lewis. Second in Deauville. Third in Budapest. Incredible. Second in a WSOP event as well. Yeah. And then obviously negotiated that short stack to perfection to win the $10 million first prize outright in the WSOP.
And turned down a chop heads up. Decided to go for the gusto.
Possibly the best WSOP final table performance.
Yeah. And you know,
in the televised era.
Yeah, and a big fan of Roland Boothby, who you see on the booth tomorrow. There's Martin, ready to go.
Yeah, Martin.
Martin Jacobson.
And let's be honest, Martin Jacobson, top class. But someone
Joe Bauer, JB, Justin Biebs himself, best GPI rank. Remarkably, 1346. Not a lot of live earnings, but a legend of the online tournament circuit, you would say?
Has that memorable screen name, Joao Bauer. So we can call him Joao Bauer.
Joao Bauer.
And yeah, obviously, I think that he is in trouble a little bit in this. Please don't do that. You're making me laugh.
Commentate, come on.
No, you can't do that.
Okay.
You're too funny. Okay, so Joao Bauer, obviously a great poker talent, but in this lineup, he's in a bit of trouble, yeah?
Yeah,
I mean up against the creme de la creme.
It's a really tough field today in the you know, Joao, is he going to do it? I mean, I have no idea, you know.
It's a good job we've only got 12 viewers, because it's a shame we've only got 12 viewers, because you're on
You know
fire.
what? I really wish, you know, I miss playing hockey out here in Malta. My favorite stick, by the way, Bauer sticks. Those things are unbelievable.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all respect to JB and the Sao Paulo Metropolitans. Yeah. But this is an incredible lineup, one where any poker player is going to be in a lot of trouble. You know, we got Fedor Holz, we got Jason Mercier, we got Martin Jacobson. We've got, you know, an incredible lineup. Sao Paulo Mets, you know, going to be happy to register any
Let's get to the action.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, you're too much for me. Can you do that? Bow, 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 bow. If he wins next time he wins a pot.
Obviously, that's what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, since Tony Gregg was the last-minute submission, we weren't able to get a Gustavo Fring bobblehead of any kind. But I promise next time, be the first thing we do, the Gustavo Fring of the GPL.
Who would you most like to see on webcam here?
Probably Martin Jacobson with his shirt off.
We got to go for the Justin Bieber of the GPL, Fedor Holz. He was great value last time. Obviously, made that devastating analysis of Kevin McPhee's play.
Devastating analysis.
Yeah, well, he basically just called out McPhee's hand and said, if I didn't have a set here, I would fold because you got 8-7. And, you know, played awesome,
9-8, I think it was.
Yeah, 9-8 or whatever.
I'm a perfectionist.
And Tony Gregg, obviously with the easy open with pocket tens. If you missed it a couple of weeks ago, Tony Gregg put on a bit of a masterclass with the big stack. Obviously, you know, really favoured him. Won a big all-in against Chris Moneymaker to give him a huge stack, but played it to perfection, really, pressurising his opponents.
Really interesting to see Fedor not opt to 3-bet the ace-3 suited here. I think that goes to show that he has an incredible amount of respect for Anthony Gregg. He's going to be in position on him for, you know, most hands, as he's 2 to his left. So instead of just deciding to open things up with a very playable 3-bet hand from the small blind, this would have been a pretty favorable flop for his hand, actually. He opts to fold, and I think against a lot of players, he would have decided to 3-bet that ace-3 suited. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think in this format, Fedor Holz recognizing there's no need to get super out of line early. You know, I think early on in the GPL, we saw people playing up a little bit for the cameras. Fedor Holz aware that at these stack depths, there's no need to go after a player of Anthony Gregg's caliber. Out of position. Tony always going to have hands that he can take to a flop.
You know, big fan of Tony Gregg, actually. Roland Boothby.
Roland actually knows a lot about Tony Gregg. Perhaps he'll give us his insights tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear it. Yeah. Jason Mercier, does he defend the 4-3 off?
Probably not, I don't think. Tony Gregg's going to have a pretty strong opening range here. We shall see, though. And Jason does make the fold.
I mean, it does kind of look like Tony Gregg's just running over the table, but I mean, he's getting some big hands early on.
Obviously, here. Martin Jacobson and Fedor Holz are not people you can run over. And hope JB finds a fold with deuce 9. He does indeed. And Jason Mercier with the 3-6 off. Duhamel's going to be frustrated to get a walk here with such a strong holding. Good to see the amount of viewers going past the 55 mark, pushing towards 100 viewers. People who aren't fans of Jason Somerville tuning in.
Is there anyone that isn't a fan? I mean, I'm a subscriber. You give him the $5 a month, right?
No, you don't.
Of course, I give the guy the $5 a month.
Mate, that's impressive.
Of course, I don't. I mean, come on, I'm doing a bit. I do these things called bits, where it's like I make like a joke, like it's like a running gag. I pay for things. I pay for things. I pay for things in bitcoins.
You know who else does bits? Roland Boothby. That's who. And Jason Mercier with 9-10 off on the cutoff. Might see him getting into action for the first time. Obviously, all the players aware of just how strong a lineup they're competing in right now. And Tony Gregg with just 3 high, but he has more strong hands on this board than Martin Jacobson does, so makes a bet and takes the pot down. We will endeavour to get some guys on the webcams at some point in the near future for you. Obviously, a real superstar lineup. Be amazing to get any of these guys sharing their insight. We obviously have had Tony and Martin on the camera before. They were a little bit quieter, as was JB. But Fedor Holz, as I said, was super entertaining. Quite a character, hey, Fedor. You know,
yes.
Obviously, in general, you want to hate someone that is as young and successful.
I want to hate Fedor.
Bitter old has-beens like us.
For sure.
We're wanting to hate Fedor Holz.
Does everyone know that we're in our 30s?
But he's just so lovable.
Yeah,
that's, you know, you can't.
Like, this is perfect. He's a little dragon.
The poker community adores him.
Look at this smile where it's just like, I'm going to take all of your chips. I'm going to eat you. But I'm adorable.
Does defend the 5-4 off against Tony Gregg and catches a little piece. Tony Gregg with the ace of clubs might use this as a blocker with which to continuation bet, but elects to just check back. Ace 10 can win at showdown, and obviously here turning a 10. And now with so many gut shots out there, might.
What do you think of this this defend in the Boothby, the big blind?
In the BB from Fedor Holz, I think that, you know, it's become pretty standard. You can't adjust Fedor's going to know his defending ranges here. Connected, I think 5-3 off, probably fold. 5-4 off, absolutely fine to call with. You're getting such great pot odds versus a 2.5x.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Gregg checking back, flop and turn, and now going to go for a little bit of value on the river. Similar to how we saw Bousquet play, these guys very, very controlled with their continuation back frequencies. They're much more concerned with like either betting for value or betting as a bluff. They don't just kind of stab these hands where they can only get called by better often, and it often serves to strengthen your opponent's range. So really controlled play by Tony Gregg. I was interested to see you check that back on the turn as well. Hardcore poker fans obviously will learn so much from studying Tony Gregg's
just watching
ranges.
Tony Gregg play against Fedor Holz in a 6-max match.
Yeah,
you know,
screw
everyone else.
Even though that was,
though you have Jason Mercier, Martin Jacobson, and Jonathan Duhamel.
And also Fedor doesn't stab with his pair on the turn. You know, lots to learn about the way these guys play.
Yeah.
And JB on the camera. The John Nash, a beautiful mind, working out some equations there on the blackboard behind.
Baby, baby, baby.
Let's be honest, Griffin Benji, he fires a lot of material, and not all of it connects, but I'm loving the
every once in a while, buddy, haymaker.
And Fedor Holz turns second pair And JB also turning an inferior second pair. And you'd imagine this may go check, check. So what I was talking about earlier, Fedor essentially sort of bluffing the flop, just trying to take it down with king high, fold out Bauer's equity. On the turn, doesn't beat a jack X, can just check over to his opponent, get a bet from floats, hands like 6-5 off and such like. And on the river, it's pretty close between going for value or checking. He does bet for value, aware that Joao Bauer probably bets his stronger hands on the turn, his jack X on the turn. With 2 flush draws, it's likely he'll bet there full protection with a hand like Queen Jack or Jack 5. And JB getting away from second pair on the river.
Top class.
Yeah, class from Joao Bauer. Obviously in a very, very tough lineup, the young Brazilian. And Tony Greig raising the 6s. And this hand, you would expect Jason to defend. Jason Mercier, as I will be pronouncing his name.
It's weird that I've been correcting you. No wonder you were getting so angry at me, because you didn't think that I was correcting you on something that was correct.
No,
I said it Mercier for years. Don't get me wrong, but I just, the Americans were sticklers with it.
I will give 10 euros to charity for every time I mispronounce his name on the rest of the broadcast.
You're going to give 10 euro to Fabrice Soulier every time?
I will donate to the Paris Aviators.
Charity of choice. Points for Soulier.
Joao Bauer enrolled in the MIT maths program, studying for his postgraduate doctorate.
Good Bauer hunting.
Good Joao hunting.
Oh my God, it was right there. Good Joao bunting or something. A lot. Hey, JB.
JB.
If you bust first, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. No, I know
JB.
you don't know, JB. I know you don't want us to do this right now, JB. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
JB.
And
JB.
Fedor coming in with a loosish open, king 8 suited, and Joao Bauer with pocket 10s, not an automatic 3-bet, and does elect to flat, keeping in hands he dominated, such as king 8 suited. And Tony Greig relinquishes the queen 4 in the big blind, would have flopped strongest, but aware that Joao has a very strong range here, flatting in position. And Fedor with no back doors and a board that hits Joao Bauer, may not continuation bet, just checking it over to Joao Bauer, who recognizes now that 10s may be the best holding, and bets and takes it down. Using the fact that he has so many queens and jacks in his range to be able to bet a slightly weaker holding and protect his equity. And some matches really get off to a fast start. Others, I think this lineup, one of the most intimidating we've assembled at the GPL.
We did this. We assembled this. We were there.
I've got to say, the Americas Conference, so strong. Such depth of talent in all these franchises.
A lot of requests on the Twitch stream for Mercier and his dog.
And yeah, he was great on the stream.
And for Roland Boothby.
And they were requesting Boothby on the stream.
Yeah.
And Duhamel does 3-bet the ace-9 suited, and Mercier instantly defending the 10-8 suited. These guys will have played together a fair amount. Obviously, both representatives of PokerStars. Jason obviously feeling Duhamel could be really wide here. Defends the 10-8 suited, but doesn't really connect with this board. Interesting to see how Mercier...
Yeah, John just decides to rep the texture because he's on that board texture a ton. It'd be interesting to see Mercier there, check, kind of call with strong hands, but I think that he's going to be continuation betting a lot when he hits the board. So I think John took the lead. Yes?
Yeah, of course. Obviously in terms of nut combos, equity is reasonably evenly distributed on that board. But Jonathan obviously has the aces, the ace-king, sets of kings and jacks. And interesting because John dealt the exact same holding the next hand, and you would expect Jason to come in with an open. With
Troy Vov on the Twitch stream. I want to see Eric Denny. So do we. We didn't even know he was leaving.
We do love Eric Denny. Good job by switched. I'm getting a call here from Andrew Badaker while we're in live.
Oh, you got to take that call.
Wish we could take that.
Just take it anyway.
Wish we could take that. Laura Cornelius getting excited. She's a fan.
Oh.
And Jonathan Duhamel 3-bets the ace-9 again. And the action isn't necessarily done. Tony Gregg with ace-queen off on the button. 2 very strong blockers and does come in for a 4-bet. This probably the perfect hand to, not that there's exactly bluffs pre-flop, but this hand you can fold if Duhamel shoves, but does block aces and queens, puts it on Duhamel now, and Duhamel doesn't take the pot odds, folds the ace-9. A nice pickup for Tony Gregg. Obviously, different ways to run good, and Tony Gregg picking up a strong holding on the button with so much action before him. Edge is going to be very, very small in this contest. And Duhamel, with the king-queen suited, flats Jason's open this time.
There's something about, both of those, all 4 of these hands pretty playable, but King, Queen suited, Jack 10 suited, it's like, this is why we play the game.
Yeah,
Does Fedor go for the squeeze, or does he flat here, or does he fold?
Yeah, one of those rare spots where all 3 options are valid. I don't think he ever calls. I think he's, oh, okay, he does call.
I saw, actually, Mustafa Kinet posted a boom hand on Twitter Sunday, where he overflatted the small blind with ace-10. And I think that's something like with a hand like this, where obviously our instinct is mostly to fold, but when you're this deep and you're obviously completing from the big.
Let's just talk about this flop. Joao Bauer, the Goodwill bunting,
nutter butter. Oh my God.
flopping a set, and Jason Mercier flopping the nuts. And Duhamel actually has top pair, which could be good in certain circumstances.
Yeah, and Fedor with the ace blocker for the, if they ever gets a free card, he won't, but a little something for everyone here at the GPL.
More than a little something. Jason, Merry Christmas. Happy Diwali for Jason Mercier.
Yeah, and we're going to see a flat a lot here from Jonathan. We can all see, and the fans back home, that he is basically drawing close to dead. But, a lot of the time, especially with the sizing from Mercier, he could be betting a lot of, jacks, 10s, kind of pot controlling, having the lead.
Yeah, King Jack of spades.
Yeah, King Jack with a heart.
Obviously, all flush draws and such like. And Fedor attacks with the nut flush blocker,
and that's gonna get Mr. Bauer sent right out of the precinct if he doesn't improve.
And really, really interesting now. For Joao, whether to just call or to re-raise, probably going to just call. Fedor is essentially repping Jack 10, probably flats every, 4 suited combos of Jack 10 and maybe some offsuit Jack 10 here. So he does have the nuts easily within his range. Really interesting hand and potentially going to save Joao Bauer from getting stacked here. So many different ways that this hand can play out, and not an enviable position for Joao Bauer. So aware of relative hand strength. Joao Bauer deep in the tank. And he folds. Oh, my goodness. Fedor Holz allowing Joao Bauer to get away from the set. I did not envisage that.
Can I just say something, Sam? I think this is what makes this most amazing, is it just goes to show how good of a spot this is by Fedor, that he's able to get him to fold a set. Because obviously we see that Fedor has the worst hand of all 4 players, but it's all about relative hand strength. Like Bauer actually folded a set when Fedor decided to make this move, putting Fedor on a hand like Jack 10, or set of 9s. Unbelievable top-class play here by Fedor, and he's obviously going to snap fold here.
Just jams all in. Not many options.
And Bauer doesn't even flinch.
For Mercier, which don't look ridiculously strong there. Well, obviously, when Jason moves all in, it reveals that someone had Jack 10. I don't think Jason's going to jam there. I mean, I guess he can jam King Jack of Hearts, but it doesn't. It seems very unlikely.
Yeah. Shout out to fellow colleague Beto, who's taking a few weeks off and just posted a picture with his feet up in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Happy to see that, my friend.
Part of the backstage team, along with Joe Chung, Steve Gross, and Dwight Pilgrim.
Joe Chung asked for the time off, but, you know, he's our best editor.
Yep.
So
wanted to go play some Baccarat.
Yeah, not happening, buddy. No monkeys for you.
And
I guess
Joao
that's blackjack.
Bauer, in general, we've seen people employ a limping strategy, blind on blind, in the GPL in this format. Here coming in for a 3x raise. Not sure whether that's his overall strategy or just a product of this particular holding.
Hey, 3.2x.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big sizing against Jason is going to be the way you're going to have to go if you are raising. Jason now obviously taking some time to decide whether to call or 3-bet. Does elect to call, and he's going to play pretty sticky post. When you flat with this kind of very, very strong hand pre-flop, wouldn't probably be folding to a C-bet on this board, for instance, with 2 overcards and a backdoor flush. And JB continuing with a cautious strategy, not electing to C-bet with so few cards he can barrel on the turn. And just check folds, and definitely the right decision against Jason's hand and almost certainly his range. Joao Bauer with a cautious approach, but one that's absolutely paying dividends in this match so far.
Yeah, I mean, JB playing great so far, realizing that he doesn't need to take that small edge.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because if Jason didn't have Jack 10, perhaps we would be criticizing him.
Yeah, no, that's the
it's
interesting
so
thing,
hard for us not to be results oriented.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and this is
and I'm still not sure if it's oriented or orientated. That's really bothering me.
And this is one of the things that makes poker so fascinating. It's not just about the decision you make versus the actual hands people have.
It's about how much the guys in the booth pretend to be experts as they see your cards.
Jason now picking the ace-5 suited. Interesting, Griffin commented in Fedor turning down a similar spot. Tony Gregg not even folding the queen-9 suited to a very strong-looking small blind 3-bet. Happy to play.
Can I just say, the best beard in the GPL, Jonathan Duhamel. Isn't it great we've just seen him grow up, you know? He used to just be some kid in a Habs jersey.
Jason flopping the nut flush will obviously far a continuation bet. Probably going to be putting pressure down the streets on Tony Gregg if he were to call. In this instance, obviously, Tony he does float the gut shot. Amazing stuff, by the way. So sick the way these guys play. Tony Gregg playing incredibly tough against Jason Mercier. Perhaps some sort of history between these two or dynamic. You would have thought without the backdoor flush that queen 9 would be a fold, but Tony does float, and now Jason turning a weakish top pair to go with his nut flush draw, checks it over to Tony Gregg, and Tony now maybe looking to take the pot away from Jason. So difficult to envisage the hands that Jason's going to fold on this turn card that are actually worse than queen 9. I mean, yeah. And Tony does far.
The thing is that Mercier so often is just going to check call here. And then, you know, with his particular hand strength, it's going to be incredibly difficult facing a shove on the river. Whether or not Tony can actually pull it off, Tony obviously does have way more queen 10s in his range, especially with the queen blocker, you know, but he is repping a very thin range when he shoves river here. So it'll be interesting to see if Mercier, of course, decides to call, which he opts to do. Really tough card for Greg to continue on. A lot of ace-kings in Mercier's range. This is tough.
Yeah, it also depends how Jason constructs his check calling range, whether he keeps jacks, ace-king, aces in that range. Tony does give up, and Jason picks up a nice pot. Tony Gregg with an ambitious float there with Queen 9 suited. Obviously, you're so, it's very hard to criticize Tony Greig for anything he does. But
he did really have an idea that like Mercier was light there.
Sure, but like if you're not folding the Queen 9 suited on that board, you're basically not folding. I mean, you're in a tough spot when you've actually got Jack 10 or Queen Jack without further weakening your range,
right.
you know? Because you've got all the actual draws, all the suited aces, all the Queen 10s. So maybe you don't, every backdoor flush draw with a gut shot.
Yeah.
Maybe you're calling a bit too much there if you have Queen 9 suited. One for the poker experts to break down. Do we have any poker experts? Are we thinking of hiring one in the? I know
we
we
actually already have one in the office. Roland Boothby's going to be not in the booth, but in the lounge tomorrow.
Interesting dynamic with Jason. Every single time we open, I did 3-bet. Looks like we're going to 3-bet again.
Duhamel referencing the aggro dynamic that's developing between him and
most of the time I had a good hand, good enough to do it. One time I got 4-bet by Tony Greig and had to fold it. Before the rest, played pretty straightforward. I know Jason's playing a lot of tables, playing a lot of scoops right now. So we'll see how that affects how he plays on this table. But he knows how to multi-table, so it's not a big deal for him. I think that on that spot with those, how deep we are, we're going for stacks pre-flop. Then you just call. It's good flop for us.
So, no overcards flopping.
I'd rather have the ace of clubs, or at least the queen of clubs to c-bet here. Just gonna check it back. Just don't want to be check raised, so.
Jonathan recognizing that few better hands than ace-queen will fold this flop. Checking it back, hoping Jason has a hand like ace-jack, well, not ace-jack anymore, but king-queen and such like. And Jason seizing the initiative, aware of the weakness of Jonathan's check-back range, probably not going to be checking back 9s, 10s, kings and the like.
I feel like he's going to be valuing a lot here. We do have a good hand, but he has to expect me to have some kind of a side there that would check back the flop. So I see him doing that a lot more with value hand. And now I just got disconnected.
And Jonathan does fold the ace-queen, checking back but not getting stubborn. And an absolute spot-on read.
Kind of a tight fold, but
of where he was at there, recognizing Jason more likely to be doing that bet for value in his estimation. Ace-queen, obviously, when that jack turns, becoming pretty much the stone bottom of Jonathan's check-back range, you would imagine, and lets it go. Jason Mercier off to a great start here. Jonathan intimating he knows Jason's going to be multi-tabling because of the hashtag scoop, which is going on right now.
Spring Championship of Online Poker.
On PokerStars.
In case you didn't hear, I got 48th in the $27, and my friend here, Sam Squid,
37th in the 250.
Wow, he keeps on getting deeper every time I talk about it. I thought it was 38th.
Mate, this time next year, I'll be like, remember that 12th I got?
Yeah, for sure. Bubbled that final table, just like.
And Jason cannot miss at the moment, flopping 2-pair with the rather unpromising holding of 8-9 off. And pretty vulnerable 2-pair in general, especially if one of his opponents were to have a king or a flush draw. And Tony Greig does have a gut shot, but you might be wanting to control your floating frequency here based on having a spade. Not the case,
your
obviously.
Frequency.
Your
floating frequency.
Your floating frequency. But Tony Greig does float the queen jack on the button, playing tough against Mercier. In this instance, we can see in real bad trouble. Obviously, if Jason just had a hand like 8-7, would have way more equity than he does. And Jason checks it over to Tony Greig. And I wonder if he's looking to spring a check raise on the hashtag emboss of the San Francisco Rush.
I wonder who will.
So Joao
Will he
fold
bring a check
flop set
raise?
with the 8s. It's pretty sick fold.
Yeah, Duhamel talking about that. And JB probably getting the good news here that he saved a lot of chips. Didn't actually put in any post-flop bets there with the set of 8s. And Tony Greig obviously going to be releasing the queen high. Like how Jason played that, obviously looking to shut Tony Greig out on the turn.
Yep.
And also had Tony a hand like King Queen, King Jack, King 10, puts him in a horrible spot with so many draws. By check raising the 8-9 off all in, you can obviously check raise some strong draws, maybe a hand like Queen 10 suited in spades or Jack 10 suited in spades. Fedor Holz tweeting that he's also multi-tabling some scoop events. Obviously, big time of year for the guys that do play online.
Yep. People we used to be. Somebody that I used to know, somebody.
You do realize it's for that kind of stuff they mute us. The producers mute us when you sing.
The producers mute us.
Hashtag mute Griffin.
Hashtag,
put it in chat.
Hashtag mutiny.
Put it in the chat, and the producers will actually
Hashtag
deliver.
Boothby mutiny.
Slapdash on Twitter requesting that Fedor stream his session. Bruv, you can't watch Fedor over the GPL. You can't include us in the tweet.
Do they include you in tweets?
They include the GPL, mate.
Nobody ever tweets me.
And Fedor coming in for a race with the ace jack. Goodwill Bauer, not with much chat on the webcam. Obviously, perhaps, not super strong in English, or maybe. Obviously, it's a lot easier for the native English speakers to utilize the webcam. Still big JB fans, aren't we?
Huge. I mean, baby just described my entire high school experience.
Fedor electing to check back. And Jason, once again, pouncing on his opponent's hesitancy with a bet for value on the turn. Really interesting to see whether Jason goes for a second barrel here. Does have a very strong kicker with his 6. Unlikely Fedor would check back an 8. And Jason Mercier, so aware of where he is in the hand, going for thin value on the river. I think actually he could pick a bigger sizing here, because he's going to have a lot of missed draws, yeah?
That's why Fedor folds.
But Fedor does fold the ace-jack. Obviously, having the ace of hearts blocks, a potential bluff hand. Though Jason doesn't necessarily bluff with ace-x of hearts. Might be good enough to show down. Dave Denholm at Talk Soccer tweeting, Joao Bauer with an amazing fold, exclamation mark. Absolutely right. Really high-level stuff. Amazing hand, if you guys missed it, playing out between Jason Mercier, Jonathan Duhamel, Fedor Holz, and Joao Bauer, where Joao Bauer able to fold a set of 8s on the flop when Jason Mercier flopped the nuts. And interesting that Jason has an open shove range when Duhamel has 32 big blinds. Don't know whether that's a little bit of laziness because he's playing multiple tables, or if that's a strategy he would employ in high rollers and super high rollers where there was actual money on the line. Really interesting to see, though. Definitely can't be exploited, you wouldn't imagine, even jamming that many big blinds. Really interesting to see. And Tony Greig all in with the pocket 7s. And Fedor with the king queen. Nasty spot for Fedor Holz. Will lay it down. And we're in a situation where everyone getting a little bit shorter. Jason Mercier really with a dominating start to this 6-max match. One of the toughest lineups assembled in GPL history. Mercier and Duhamel both three-time bracelet winners. Martin Jacobson and Duhamel, main event winners. Tony Gregg, a man who's final tabled PCA 3 times. Duhamel and Gregg, both one-drop winners. And, of course, Fedor Holz, one of the hottest internet players in the world. And Fedor Holz with pocket fives, and this is going to be a shove in all likelihood. He does jam, and Joao Bauer calls with the ace-queen, and Fedor nails the flop. Heart or... yeah, 10 required if we're going to lose Fedor, and JB is going to double up. Bricks off, and you've got to feel sorry for Joao Bauer. Flop to set and had to fold on the flop. Not rewarded for his patience and steadiness, though, as he loses a massive flip against Fedor crown-up guy Holz. Obviously, even you've got to feel even sorrier for him, because a lot of the time, ace-queen is going to be absolutely dominating their blind and blind.
What you're really trying to say is it's not your fault.
JB.
No, JB.
It's not your fault.
Joao.
Joao.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. And with Joao Bauer so short, Martin Jacobson just flatting the ace-king off.
I open with a pocket fours, just a little over 20 bigs, like 23, 24 bigs. Martin calls in position.
Martin
also.
Jacobson, who's so
I'd be more
aware.
tempted to bet if it was a heads-up pot with Martin and I. But three-handed like that, I don't want to risk too many chips. I want to bet and be called. So I'd rather keep my chips to play for afterwards.
Martin, obviously someone that's played where there's
check
actually been million-dollar pay jumps.
Passive, but
So aware of turning equity into cash, or in this case points, and Jason Mercier turns an open-ended straight draw to go with his top pair.
I wonder if he ever front shoves this to get him to fold a better king. Probably not. But it's pretty tough.
He's
sitting there with...
checked over to Martin. And Martin all in. Horrible spot for Jason Mercier. Open-ended straight draw and top pair.
Against a really strong range here. King, queen suited, king, jack suited, ace, king, aces. Even some pocket kings with how short Joao Bauer was.
Yeah, I think set of tens is a big concern. I mean, the only thing is there are some possibilities. I don't think that Martin would flat queen jack here, but it is possible. Ace jack of spades, ace queen of spades. They definitely are parts of Martin's range that he might want to play this way. But Jason lets it go, and nice pot for Martin Jacobson, flatting the ace king pre-flop and actually winning more chips than he would have if he jammed. And Tony Gregg, no respecter of ICM, shoving all in with Joao Bauer down to just 4 big blinds. And if we look slightly ahead, Jason Mercier with another tough decision with ace-jack in the small blind. I think this shove is a little bit reckless from Tony Gregg. I don't know if the next pay, if this was a tournament and the pay, instead of a point, the next pay jump was between getting 0 and 100K, do you think he would ever shove the king-queen off?
No, it's almost like he's not paying for 100K.
Well, yeah, but I mean, shouldn't they? It doesn't take much to play in the same sort of manner. I don't know really like how you should adjust for the points system or what have you, but it does seem to me that this is pretty loose with 5 players to get through. And really,
a lot of interesting dissection going on Twitch about the pocket eights fold from Joao Bauer. Interesting comment from Fishing for Greatness. The more I think about it, the less I believe that he would fold in the high stakes sit and go. Only he knows it's much more beneficial to take that spot when 2 places pay out and a big stack is worth so much more.
And Jason does call, and Tony Gregg, who has come 6th of 6 twice before, in perilous position, needs a king or a queen. And Rivers a queen.
Nem pra segurar pra gente arrumar uns pontinhos aqui a mais.
And I don't know what Joao Bauer said there, but he is obviously not happy. Great free roll spot there for him to move up to winning 1 point for the Mets if Tony Gregg had been eliminated there. And I think if Jason's not going to fold the ace-jack there, I mean, probably isn't a jam.
You know what's really funny is that we make jokes about the people that finish 6 all the time, just from running bad or what have you. But think about like the guys that poor Joao Bauer is playing against right now. Like getting even past one guy, it's almost a miracle. I mean, look at how strong this lineup is. So you really feel for Joao there. We actually had a chance going to the river to secure at least 1 point for the São Paulo Metropolitans. And you saw the Brazilian reaction there. Story checks out.
Tony Gregg seizing the initiative and having the bigger stack. Going to win the pot a lot there in position. Doesn't feel he needs to raise the jack-8. Just checks behind and takes Duhamel off the best hand post-flop. And I'd love to see a bit of luck here for Joao when he does get called by Martin here. Obviously, so unlucky to lose that flip against Fedor. Run good Holz. Martin does have the best hand though. And Joao flops a queen, but a flush draw for Jacobson. King or a heart.
Tá achando que é fácil derrubar a gente. Que não, rapaz.
Joao Bauer doubling through.
O Duhamel vai chovar os
I'm going to
dois.
be shoving here. I don't like it that much because Joao is short, but he just doubled up. Our hand is just too good.
These guys are YOLO.
13 bigs, there's not much we can do.
Congratulations to Martin
So
Jacobson
just
for getting
try to
up
steal the
42,000
blinds.
tips. 5 left now in this heat.
And
After
Duhamel
running into the
all in.
A Tony and a Yao just doubled up. It's good for them, but it's bad for us. And so
A
we
cold
gotta
shower
push the pace.
for Johnny D.
And we're in trouble.
And
Unless-
Duhamel binks an 8. Double gut shot. 9 or king for Martin. Or a queen.
Is there a lady in the deck or a nine or a king? You hit the king on the right.
And Duhamel
Nice, Sam boys. Fun
is
playing.
out of there for
See you next
0
time.
points. That's repeating his team manager Chris Moneymakers' performance of this
I
time
hate it
last
when they
week.
fade away, man. It hurts. It
So
makes me think they've...
just to recap, I've done it many times, but we do have new viewers. 0 points there for Jonathan Duhamel. Next out, we'll get 1 point, 2 points, 3 points for third, 5 points for second, and 7 points for first. And Joao Bauer with Queen Jack, significantly ahead of Martin Jacobson's opening range, calls all in, hits a queen.
Great flop. 94% favorite. But it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Flush draw comes on the turn.
Black.
And Joao Bauer doubles through again to over 10 big blinds. I mean, it's because of that kind of thing that Duhamel's shove is a little bit more acceptable. Obviously, Joao Bauer, not by no means out of it when he had 5 big blinds. So Duhamel feeling he still had to fight for chips. Do think both guys a little bit reckless in their jams. But these guys obviously better in these kind of spots than I am. Played huge final tables where ICM, independent chip modeling, is a...
Is it a module?
Modeling.
Really?
Yeah.
This whole time I thought it was module, like it was some sort of module.
Griffin Benja proving that you can be a professional poker player while knowing almost nothing about poker theory. And Tony Greig, with the 10 of clubs in his hand and the stronger range, will far out. And Jason does not give up the deuces and turns a secret set.
Don't call me Mercier, just pops it off.
By the way, we love a secret set here at the GPL. 3 deuces.
The most secret of sets.
And he checks it over to Tony Greig, who may be tempted to fire again. Does far out a half pot bet on the turn. What hands do you think he's targeting here with this bet? Like what hands?
9, 7 off.
Without a club.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, I guess.
Even 9, 10.
And Jason just rips it in.
Secret set Mercier.
And
into the muck, mate.
Obviously, Tony Greig, a little bit frustrated.
So few hands he can really have here, eh? That he calls the. Oh my goodness! Puts them on a big
what's
draw.
he done? What Tony Greig has lost the plot. Tony Greig, we may have to revoke your emboss status. What was that?
He put him on a hand like Queen 10 with the Queen of clubs, King 10 King clubs,
Yeah.
10 8, 10 7, 10 8 with the club.
Yeah, I guess.
He had the 10 of clubs blocker, but though.
So you think Jason never? I mean,
think about it. How ridiculous is that he had a set of twos there?
Yeah, but he doesn't flat with sixes. I mean, you're being quite presumptuous about the way Jason plays 3-4 of clubs. I mean, I don't know. Like you're saying.
Right. No, I think he's just combining the range of that he just never thinks he's drawing dead. So he's just going for it. Maybe he had somewhere to be. Maybe he's playing a bunch of scoops for a lot of money. And
wow, Tony Greig. Really interesting. Obviously,
never meet your heroes, guys.
No, I mean,
they'll let you down.
So difficult for us to criticize
Yeah.
one of the greatest poker players of his generation, a man who's done it all. Really interesting to see him bet call it off there. I'm absolutely flabbergasted, to be honest.
Yeah, I know you are.
If he's that, wow. I mean, wow. And Fedor floating with an open-ended straight draw. Martin improving here on the turn, picking up the flush draw. And checks it over to Fedor. Fedor checking back, not opting to bluff with the 8 high on the turn. Recognizes he doesn't have too many hands he wants to value bet on the turn, so delaying his bluff until the river, allowing him to realize all his equity, and now can stab on the river to try and take Martin off the weaker parts of his range. In this instance, I don't imagine it's going to work. Martin, obviously, the kicker irrelevant, 2-pair ace kicker, does make the call.
Fedor caught with his little child hand in the cookie jar, trying to reach above the fridge to get one of those chocolate chip deliciouses. His mom just made them for him just half an hour ago. Only gave him one, put them on top of the fridge, and Fedor caught by Daddy Jacobson.
And we are four-handed. Let's just talk about Joao Bauer and how down to just a blind and a half, laddered 2 spots, already picked up a really important 2 points for the Sao Paulo Mets. Really fighting tooth and claw.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I always say?
You know, I absolutely love it from Joao Bauer. Really.
Jay Busy in the hizzy folding middle set. Bottom set.
And Jason Mercier, perhaps with some devilish plans with the 9-4 suited, does elect to 3-bet. Obviously, this might look ambitious, but he is the covering stack. Martin got to be really careful to avoid
Martin knows
playing
what he's doing, though,
a big pot against the the chip leader.
He's going to either peel or...
With Joao Bauer so short. I'm just explaining to the fans why Jason's picking this hand. See, Jason's going to be so comfortable defending so many hands that he can take a kind of slightly more junky suited hand and turn it into a 3-bet bluff. But he is offering great pot odds to Martin. Griffin Bed, you're completely wrong.
Well, I don't know what independent chip mode is.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm calling there.
Martin
can also see Jason Mercier's hand.
Martin Jacobson with so many strengths to his game, but let's just remember this is a guy who is going to play this point system pretty much perfectly.
Yeah,
spent 3 months or 2 months in the with a team of poker geniuses.
Has he even won a live tournament in the last 2 years? What did he win last? The big one.
Let me just say, he obviously spent a huge amount of time going over the implications of being the short stack, the second shortest stack, second in chips, in a situation where there were actually $1 million pay jumps. So he's going to know these spots so well. So really interesting to see that Martin playing with no ego and just folding what he probably knows is the best hand a high portion of the time. Fedor Holz doing likewise, not defending with the king high. Think he would normally be seeing a flop there, but Joao Bauer once again on the critical list with just 6 big blinds.
Apparently, Joao Bauer said baby, 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 yeah, in Portuguese. I believe it when I learned Portuguese, I suppose.
And Joao Bauer, he folded the king 9. That's got to be a mistake, yeah? He should at least see a flop.
Yeah.
For 1 big blind. Joao Bauer, really unconventional way. Obviously, to give the man credit, this short stack game, has got him 2 points where other people might have punted it off before now. But seems to me an incredibly tight fold. When you're down to just 6 big blinds. Also, Jason's going to be opening so wide there, yeah? It's like pretty close to a jam. Now, Joao will be all in, and Jason will make the quick call with the ace high.
Not even a doubt for Joao.
Joao flopping best. No additional... No additional outs for Mercier. And doubles through again.
Amazing that they're vamuing right now on the stream because he just doubled with the queen 9 and the king 5 while I'm mentally vamuing at the future vamuing happening 10 minutes from now over that double.
Wow.
It's vamuception, buddy.
So
vamuception.
Many levels.
Directed by Christopher Nolan.
And Fedor Holz with 7-6 suited makes the fold, and Joao with another hand that is going to be a plus EV jam. Obviously, we're going to help his cause that Jason has 4 high and Martin just 9 high. So, both the top of the table teams, Sao Paulo Mets and New York Rounders, still in this.
Oh, Joao Bauer. Oh, he's putting out the min-raise fold. Back at it again with the short stack ninjing.
So sick from Joao Bauer that he doesn't jam here. By the way, so I think it's we can pretty confidently say it would be a profitable shove here, electing to raise. And this is going to...
sizing is... Can I just say, though, I really don't like... I understand why he's making it a little bit bigger to make it so that Fedor doesn't peel. But it looks really weak to me. Like, if I'm sitting with Ace Jack and Martin shoots, I'm always shoving, whereas if he just min-raises, maybe...
Hashtag field player. I mean, I guess... Yeah. I don't know, maybe he would just mint if he had aces, but oh my God, Martin Jacobson folded. And that's how weak it looks to the world champion.
Yeah.
And Fedor does call. Martin Jacobson folded the ace-jack. Fedor Holz does call and flops 2 pair here against Joao Bauer. Really, really interesting.
Like I said, buddy, be tighter in spots people don't expect and looser in others. Martin Jacobson.
And Joao checks back the flop, and we go into the man cave. A little insight into the man cave of Martin Jacobson. And Fedor betting out Joao Bauer Ace high can sometimes be best here, and he does have the open-ended straight draw and the overcard.
As we see, Martin Jacobson repping the reg charity as well as natural stacks on his natural rack.
And a full house from Fedor Holz. I mean, this is our ground-up guy that runs, by the way. And so all in, and Joao Bauer with a decision. Not an automatic fold. Obviously, Queen 9, Jack 9, Queen 5, 5-3. There are plenty of straight draws, which Fedor might elect to play this way. But Joao Bauer, with the bottom of his range almost certainly, does fold the river, going down to just 5 big blinds. And perhaps that is, you know, one of the reasons it's simpler if you shove. Obviously, a jam might have looked weaker, and then Martin might have called with the ace-jack. So many different ways that hand could play out. Certainly not necessarily how I expected it to play out. But Fedor showing the strength, or the upside, I should say, of peeling off short stacks with pretty weak holdings. Martin looks like, I mean, you're the comic book guy, but is this like how Bruce Wayne might be living? Like, if you went down to his little underground cave, you know, as his workout.
More like an Aquaman.
It looks like he's ready to suit up at any
more
moment.
Like, more like an Aquaman, but or a Green Lantern, definitely.
And Fedor Holz with ace-jack off, obviously very strong hand.
Bruce Wayne's a black hair bait. The more you know. I don't think he's ever been representative of blonde hair. So, Aquaman, definitely.
Griffin Benjer, comic book historian. He can tell you the color of Bruce Wayne's hair, but not what the initials ICM stand for. Jason coming in for a raise, trying to pressurize Martin, who has the shorter stack, and Martin just calling with the aces, recognizing that a 3-bet here into the bigger stack is going to look incredibly strong. The majority of his range is going to want to continue just by calling, so puts aces into that range. Jason does continue with the queen high and the heart. Really interesting to see how Mercier plays his range here. Does fire again with the queen of hearts. Obviously can't know what bad shape he's in, drawing absolutely dead against Martin Jacobson's exact hand. Oh, and Jason rivers the second nut flush against Martin's nut flush. And Jason now in a position where he might want to bet for value. And does bet half pot, hoping to get looked up by a king X or a 10 of hearts. And Martin with a decision whether to shove or just call. Seems likely to me that given Joao Bauer is so short, he may just call here.
Yeah.
Seems like Jason's hard pressed to bet call worse, although this is
I don't think he's ever bet calling with worse, and that's why Martin needs to just call here. But
Martin Jacobson thinking it through. He does shove with the nut flush, and Jason Mercier in a nightmare spot, having been bluffing on flop and turn, now finds himself with the second nut flush on a paired board, getting 4.5 to 1 on a call. He'll be thinking through whether Martin can ever turn a Jack X into a bluff here. A hand like he does call. Griffin Benja once again proving that.
Proving that the players don't care that much, considering Tony Gregg's call.
And Joao Bauer with pocket nines. And Jason Mercier going to look to get right back on the horse here because after that disastrous hand.
Cadê o Ronaldo no flop?
And you got to feel for the boy JB here. Pocket nines can get called by worse. This is a monstrously big hand with 5 big blinds. But he is in horrible, horrible shape.
Que é ouro, então. Não é Ronaldo mais, não.
Joao Bauer, not with the
Valetinho
worst
de
flop.
ouro. Ourinho tá bom, só segurar.
You're speaking in Portuguese. Can the board not freaking pay?
Joao Bauer with a big outdraw.
João bebê. Vamos.
Vamos. And Joao Bauer has come back time and time again. And Jason Mercier, who has been the big stack right from the word go, is now the short stack. I will be giving €10 to charity. Mercier and Jacobson with the pocket sevens, putting it on his opponents. Adam Schwartz tweeting in, pretty sure at Griffin Benja singing Surfing Bird is the highlight of today's Twitch stream for me. Hashtag bird is the word. We appreciate that, Adam. And I know the mustachioed one over here with a little smile.
A wry smirk.
A wry smirk. Now Fedor as the covering stack, putting it on Joao and Jason Mercier. And Joao's approach to the short stack has been to play very snug. This is, in terms of chips, a profitable jam, but Joao passes it up, hoping there'll be a confrontation between Mercier and Jacobson. And Mercier taking it seriously. I think if he was punting around, could have just stuck it in there, but folds the 10-3 high, aware that better spots will come up, and Joao folding ace deuce. I mean, can
you
that
studied
be
the
correct?
format, man. For sure, Ken. Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Of course, with Jason Shorter, of course, yeah. Does fold and gonna mean that Martin can just shove. This is a great spot for the World Series of Poker main event champion. 40 big blinds. Everyone else on the critical list.
If Jason could only see the hands.
Yeah, pretty close spot this with
Definitely,
the Queen 6 suited. Sure, he would be shoving Queen 10, Queen 9, maybe Queen 8 suited. Does shove the Queen 6 suited. Has picked a propitious moment to do so.
I have no idea what that word means. Do you?
Yeah, it means like lucky and fortunate.
Propitious.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God, I'm going to use that when I get home so much. My dad's going to, oh my God, my dad might actually love me.
And Martin, again, open shoving the Queen 10. And
such a tough spot, but he goes for it.
Does make the call.
Whatever, I got ace 9. Baby, baby,
recognizing
baby.
how far ahead of Martin's range he is. I'm not certain what the math says, but does make the call, and he is ahead. And bricks off, and Joao Bauer
derrubar a gente fácil.
coming back from just, how many big blinds was he down to? 2 big blinds?
Oh, is this that comeback we were talking about?
Could be.
He shoved for 3 bigs with the Queen 9, I think. Propitious. How do you spell it? I thought you said propitious, or giving or indicating a good chance of success. Huh. They named a word after Fedor Holz.
And Joao with the ace here. Continuing to play snug.
He just busted Jason Mercier. Did you see that? When he folded, he just literally busted Mercier.
And Jason is going to be all in. Obviously, JB already folded an ace, and Fedor Holz with 2 sevens, too strong to fold. And what a turnaround this would be if the sevens hold. Jason Mercier, the big stack, right from the word go here.
20 euros.
1 card away from elimination. And is eliminated.
Who's eliminated?
For 2 points.
Who got eliminated?
Jason Mercier.
There he is. Only 20 euros so far.
And Fedor Holz stacks reasonably level. Martin with a significant chip advantage, but 3-handed now. And the New York Rounders will be desperately frustrated with that turn of events. It is actually going to give the Mets the opportunity to level things in this conference. Now, in fact, the New York Rounders will remain top, actually, after the 3 points are secured. But certainly an opportunity for these guys to close the gap.
Joao, bow, bow, bow. Joao Bauer. He's got the power. Joao Bauer. He's balancing.
I told you
his
this is when they mute you when you sing.
Oh.
They will mute you. I'm not being funny. I'm not going to stick up for you if they mute you when you sing.
I don't know about this shove. Well, trying to balance, I guess, making it look wake. He doesn't want Fedor to defend with his king 7 offs.
The thing is
if
you don't put ace king into your raise calling range, like you're basically just only raise calling like a few combos of like 10s plus. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, no, I know. But to be fair, Olivier Bousquet did that thing the other day.
Yeah,
where he shoved ace king and.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I suppose.
That's from what the camp's from. It's not about the fact that he doesn't have a min call with. It's because he wants someone to just like be sitting there with the ace 9 in the bag and call.
Yeah.
And doesn't want to play heads up. Doesn't want to play post flop against Fedor.
Fedor Holz.
Fedor, this is a bust out. Well.
Well, all in, and Joao calls with the ace queen.
Flipar uma vez com Fedor.
No hearts.
Joao wants it. Give it to the kid.
Qualquer 10.
10, no good either. 9 or 8 required for Fedor Holz. Bricks off, and Fedor Holz down to a bowl of rice here. 1.5 big blinds for Fedor Bieber Holz. And Martin Jacobson will oblige by putting them all in. Fedor actually in as good a shape as he could hope to be.
7 from heaven. My goodness. Martin Jacobson popping it off.
And
we are heads up.
That was a big reaction for a 5 big blind all in.
Huh? I just want to say 7 from heaven. Can we talk about the fact that we have Justin Bieber heads up against Michael Jordan right now? MJ against JB.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Use it, the acronym thing.
So, Martin Jacobson is a main event winner. Now with an opportunity to become a GPL 6 max winner. Something, as you can see from his expression, he's incredibly excited about.
Do you think that Joao has plans after the match? Perhaps he has to go see about a girl?
You know what? If he wins this, he's just going to say, you know how easy this is for me? It's a joke.
I would pay so much money. I don't even have any money, and I would pay for it.
Big turn card here. JB turning the open-ended straight draw. Can't win at showdown. Almost certainly going to barrel. And Martin Jacobson turning top pair, top kicker. Very, very strong hand on this board. And JB picking a big sizing, as he should do, on a pretty dynamic texture. Martin sizes things up and calls. All the draws brick off, and JB in the unenviable spot of finding himself at the river with just 10 high. And gives it up. In this circumstance, I think a good decision. Don't think Martin would fold that particular holding. Perhaps not too GTO to give up with that combo, but not certain. And Joao going to attack this limp with the ace-king suited. But Martin has a hand that does flop well, not normally dominated. The club's not always dominated as they are in this circumstance. Limp calls. And obviously, Joao nailing this flop. And Martin quickly releasing. Martin, obviously someone that has paid for how much? How much was that pay jump in the main event? When it's 10 million up top, was it 6.2 for a second or something like that? Played heads up.
I think it might have been just 5. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, it was a huge pay jump.
I think it was 5
because they guaranteed 10 million. Hey, you know, probably.
I wish our stats guy was here, but he just randomly flew home. Well, let me 1 second.
No, I saw Roland earlier. Oh, you mean Eric? You mean Eric? Okay, yeah, Eric Denis not here, and Joao going for the unexploitable jam here with pocket threes. Not something that every player will do. I think your hand is somewhat face up there. Very hard to balance that jam with holdings other than deuces through 5s. Not necessarily a problem. You know, if something is plus chip EV against someone as good as Martin Jacobson, it's not too out of line to just take that spot.
Yeah, Felix Stevenson, 5.15 million for second. He actually won like the Norwegian Cup Championships or something.
Yeah, and yeah, just to you know, for newer poker fans, the main event, probably the most prestigious event in all of poker. Martin won it and was 10 million for first, and as Griffin says, just over 5 million for second. So has played heads up for an enormous amount of dough. And Martin, with the king high, can have to decide whether to check and show it down or turn it into a bluff. Quite understandably doesn't, given that Joao unlikely to fold an ace high and wins a nice pot to pad his chip advantage. Must be quite a thrill. I mean, not saying obviously Joao is a very accomplished player and has played against a lot of tough opponents, but quite a thrill to get to play heads up against Martin. Really a kind of modern day idol in the game. Not many players more respected than him, Griff.
Agreed.
Shame he hasn't got his punching dummy in the background. That made him all the more intimidating, I think. And Martin flops best once again. Joao Bauer with just a gut shot. And Martin taking his time before betting out, and Joao folds. Would be wonderful for the Montreal Nationals if Martin could secure the win here. A team that led the standings for a long time and then has struggled a little bit in the recent weeks, dropping down the standings somewhat to be level 3rd with LA Sunset at the start of play. They will now go ahead of LA Sunset. And Martin checking back the ace high, and Joao picks up a flush draw and leads out. Martin calling with the ace high and having bet the turn. I think, no, Joao, you've got to go for it on the river. King high can't really be good there, I don't think, versus Martin's range. sort of spot where maybe a more creative line, maybe a check raise on the turn. If Martin bets ace-9 high to protect it, to really go on the attack, you do have, you know, might see. And this is a big moment because Martin has a pair and Joao has a pair, and that means the money is going in.
Solda.
A 3 required for Martin Jacobson.
Or big turn card here for Martin Jacobson.
Or a 6 or ace. And Joao Bauer down to just a couple of big blinds, doubles up, and now has a 2-1 chip advantage for the Sao Paulo Mets. Martin, just considering whether he has a 3-bet range off this stack, feels that probably doesn't. Just shoving all in, hoping that Joao has some kind of hand he can call with. So stoical, Martin Jacobson at his standing desk in his man cave. Doesn't c-bet the king high. Recognizing that ace highs in general going to call on this board. And now bets the turn, full protection. Forcing Joao Bauer off his equity. No point free rolling 6 outs if you're comfortable that you have the best hand. Joao Bauer must want to get the win here so much. Obviously, in his one appearance, was beaten by Jonathan Little in the heads-up format. Looking for some redemption here. Looking to follow in the footsteps of Felipe. And Joao floating the Jack 6 high. Feeling that, like, well, I guess feeling that Jack high can be good, given that Martin probably checks back a lot of ace-x on this board. And now the question is, will Joao turn his hand into a bluff, or will he check and try and get to showdown? You'd imagine that this is pretty close to the... He does check, and I wonder if he can call here if Martin bets. Real confidence from the Brazilian. And does take the jack to showdown. And we don't see any emotion on Jacobson's face, but really impressive play. And Martin, 20 big blinds, ace-9 offsuit, in the money goes. Shipping it over the top of Joao Bauer's open. And if someone's opening as wide as 3-9 suited, it's going to be a super profitable spot. Martin betting the king deuce for some protection. Some ace highs Joao would call with here. Some gut shots. And Joao Bauer floating the 7-8 high and binking a 7 on the turn. Some creative play out of position from the Brazilian. Obviously does have 2 overcards to the board. Could have turned a 10 or a 5 as well to possibly take it away from his opponents. And now, gonna bet for value. And Martin Jacobson with a bluff catcher here. Beats 4-5, 4-6, ace 4 or 5, although Joao probably not going to turn those into a bluff. You know, random overcards, queen 10 suited, king 10 with a backdoor flush draw, although Joao may have played those differently pre-flop. Real close spot for Martin Jacobson. Probably doesn't suspect Joao has the exact holding he has. And Martin does get away from his pair. Showing, of course, that even if Joao hadn't hit the 7, there was a chance he could win that pot in other ways. If it came, for instance, 10-jack, you know, could have bluffed with the 7-8. And dicey spot now for Martin because Joao Bauer flops second pair. Martin flops second pair. Worst kicker. Joao firing now on the turn. And interesting spot for Martin because Joao doesn't check back this board without having some showdown value normally. And so what with ace-jack, king-jack, making a pair on the turn, gets away from his second pair without putting a chip in the pot. Real impressive.
Huge spot here for the Sao Paulo Mets.
I mean, who would have predicted this 45 minutes ago when Joao Bauer was so short?
A little something for everyone here. 9 would end the match.
Pretty conventional lead here.
Unconventional. Been a long day there, Sammy boy.
Mate, we didn't have any time for coffee now that we got no one in the lounge.
Yeah.
And Martin immediately seizing on the fact that Joao Bauer isn't really repping anything here. Raising bottom pair. Oh, and Joao shoves.
Martin.
And do you think he would shove that quickly if he had 8-6? Wow. I mean, big misstep from Martin there to raise and then fold. Could obviously just call with the 6 there. Wow. I guess he just felt...
a bit of a misstep, but I think we both are on the same page where it's like, there's a reason why he did it. He didn't want to have to deal with barrels.
Also super reckless from Joao to just rip it in there as well to take that line. But yeah, I don't know.
Interesting, yeah.
And Joao calls with the king high. Does flop a 3. Martin is going to need... Wow, he turns it.
Oh, Joe, we have a long match ahead. I have a question, though. What happens in 58 minutes and 30 seconds? Is there a next level?
Wow.
Right?
The server goes down and the stream starts lagging. That's what happens.
Just the whole system explodes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there's never been any internet issues.
And that levels things up somewhat. Joao Bauer limping the king-queen here to sort of trap Martin. And Martin might think this is a combo that he is going to be more profitable trying to steal with pre-flop. He does raise, and Joao...
Can I just say, how much better do you think that you are at poker than Martin Jacobson? Just because we can see the cards. Like, it's so ridiculous, you know?
No,
like, he's making such marginal mistakes, and it's just like, I feel like
by
such
the way, that isn't a mistake.
No, I know that isn't. Yeah. It's just,
by the way,
yeah.
basically, if I can see the cards and Martin can't,
I think you're going to play better than him.
I'm significantly better than him, but like not by a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like only,
he's
only
like the best in the world.
Only like a bit better, you know.
It's actually like an epidemic within commentating.
It's like pretty close between us, you know. Like Martin Jacobson blind and me with full full access is like close.
Oh man.
I'd be a strong favorite if we played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that, I mean, Joao just vermouth it in there. So this match still reasonably poised, where Martin can still take it down. Obviously, something of a skill edge over Joao, although not a huge one at these kind of stacks. Heads up. Joao playing very, very tough out of position. Really like how he's played across the course of this match. So determined, never say die attitude, and other platitudes about hanging tough. But, you know, it's really, really paid dividends. One point, Jason Mercier had like 50 bigs and he had 3. And he's won many more points. And Joao Bauer takes a second, but then does check the queen deuce and flops a pair on a board where Martin flops buckets of equity. So much that he might actually begin to bet for value. And Joao Bauer, pretty unconventionally, check raises bottom pair here. I think the standard is to check call. But obviously, so many hands do have equity that folding out a hand like King 10 right now would be a great result. But in this instance, may not work out because Martin can go all in with this hand. Clicks it back and folds Joao off the best hand. That's obviously, you know, one of the downsides, just like we saw Martin raising with bottom pair, check raising bottom pair. You know, the reason people don't do that so much is because you can't pour stuff. And obviously, Martin happened to have an incredibly strong draw.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, too, it's just very similar to the way that Martin played the hand. And the reality is for JB here is that, you know, his mother doesn't even like Martin Jacobson, and she likes everyone. My mama don't like you, and she likes everyone.
And all in from
Bieber
JB.
References.
And Martin quickly calls with the King 9.
Queen Jack off again.
And brick on the turn. A Jack or a King would end this match. But it's trip queens for Joao Bauer, who now has world champion and Montreal Nationals representative down to 4 big blinds. And Martin can't even pick up a hand he can jam with. Forced to fold the 5 deuce. And Joao may opt to fold the 7-3. Guys passing the blinds back and forward. Martin relieved to get a walk there. And this is going to be the moment. Martin all in for 4 big blinds with the King Deuce, called by the 9 high. And big flop for Joao Bauer.
Martin wants it. Let's hear Martin. Look at they both smirks. Love a good sweat, eh?
Espadas. Vamos! Primeira do Brasil.
The most unlikely of all victories. Joao Bauer closing out 7 points for the Sao Paulo Mets.
Hey, Joao Bao. Congratulations to Joao Bao of the Sao Paulo Metropolitans. Beating Martin Jacobson heads up of the Montreal Nationals. It's not really similar, Metropolitans, Nationals.
Yeah.
7 points, 12 points between the two of them. Great showing from him. Tight in some spots we wouldn't expect. Looser in some spots we wouldn't expect, which is what my motto is, told me by Mike McDonald the first time I ever asked him for poker advice at dinner.
Yeah, amazing result for Sao Paulo Mets. We've seen.
Do we have a guy for Jay Bauer here? We don't have one.
I mean,
to buy him one
by
for
the
him.
way, that's how unlikely this victory was. We didn't even have a toy prepared to represent.
We have a
JB
Martin Jacobson one.
Because let's just say, this was one of the toughest lineups ever assembled at the GPL
in the entire history.
Absolute team of world beaters.
Yep.
JB, by way the least sort of experienced, the least accomplished, let's say, out of the 6 players, went down incredibly short. First of all, got cornered with flop set over a flop straight. Got away from the hand.
Yeah.
Then lost a big flip to Fedor Holz. Obviously, Fedor doesn't really lose flips. And
I think he was really deep in a scuba event.
Was down to 2 or 3 big blinds. At a point where Jason Mercier had 40, 50 bigs. Hung around, battled back, and eventually closed out the win against, one of the greatest world champions of our time, Martin Jacobson. So incredible result, and Sao Paulo Mets will be over the moon with that result.
Yes, Vamos for days on days. So many Vamos until maybe he can win it again. Double Vamos. Let's throw to the lounge. Laura, are you ready for us? Wait, she's almost.
I mean, I feel like Laura is always ready. She's a professional.
Yeah, she's actually done
So
this
let's
before.
go over to see Laura Cornelius in the lounge.
Thank you so very much. Congratulations to Joao Bauer there of the Sao Paulo Mets. I have the news. Sao Paulo are now at the top of the standings after that from Joao Bauer. Amazing stuff. 62 points now for Sao Paulo Metropolitans. Andre Akari, the manager, is going to be so chuffed, especially after being down by the bottom just only 2 weeks ago. There we go, 62 points for them now. There is just 1 point between them and the New York Rounders. Jason Mercier unable to get the points today, despite coming in as the favourite. He finished in 4th place, picking up 2 points for the New York Rounders. The Montreal Nationals are obviously picking up 5 points there. Martin Jacobson takes them up to 56 points in the standings. LA Sunset's Fedor Holz was able to get a few points for Maria Ho's side, but he's not been able to get past 3rd so far in the 6 max. 54 points for LA. Then we have the Las Vegas Moneymakers on 50 points. That's 4 points separating LA and Las Vegas there. And down at the bottom of the table, it was a bit of a shock hand that Tony Gregg went out on. 50 points there. In fact, as we see, they're tying 5th and 6th place, Vegas and San Francisco. But yeah, a bit of a shock hand. No one quite expected to see Tony Gregg go out so early then. Sam was in a little bit of shock, I could tell. But indeed, he did. So unfortunate there for Jacobson.